what's the timeline between when you should save your money and when you should invest it? If it's more than X amount of years, should you be investing instead? If you have this amount of time, should you be saving the money instead? Your timeline is definitely a really important part of it, but there are also many other factors that you need to consider when you are trying to decide whether you should save your money or whether you should invest your money. And the first thing that is really important to consider is your risk tolerance. So there's always going to be a risk when you're going to be investing your money. Sometimes there's even risk when you're just putting it in a savings account. When you're investing your money, obviously, the amount of risk that you can have is your investments could go down, right? They could lose temporary value. And if you're planning on spending a certain amount of money, and at that time your investments went down in value, then you could technically possibly be spending more than what you would have if you would have saved the money, right? Sometimes that is the case, sometimes it's not. Whereas if you are putting all your money into a savings account, you are facing what's known as inflation risk. Because usually when you're in a savings account or money saved, it's not going to be earning very much money, right? The safer your money is, the less money it's going to earn. And the more time that goes by, the more that inflation is going to eat away at the value of that money. A dollar today is worth more than a dollar tomorrow. And that is especially true when a dollar today is worth more than a dollar 10 years from now. So when you're trying to decide whether you should put your money in a savings account, just save the money, or you should put your money in investments and just invest the money, you need to take into account what your individual risk tolerance is. Can you really afford to have this money possibly be lost in investments, possibly? Or can you really afford to have your money be worth less in the future because of inflation? So your risk tolerance is going to be one of the biggest factors in determining whether you need to be investing this money or you need to be saving that money. And another one is your allocation. So even if you have a goal to spend a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time, you can adjust your investments to be, a little bit more safe or a lot less volatile. If you're investing in, government bonds, then usually you're not going to earn very much off of them. But at the same time, it's also going to be a lot less volatile than if you were to invest, say, in a total stock market index fund. And a total stock market fund might be a lot less volatile than if you were to invest in one stock. And if that stock was a large company, it might be a lot less volatile than investing in a medium cap company. And that medium cap company might be a lot less volatile than if you're investing in a small cap company. So you can see that just by changing the kind of investment that you can make it a little bit less volatile. But usually, the lot less volatile it is, the less return you have in the long run. And that's where your timeline is really going to heavily come into play, as well as your individual risk tolerance. But before I go on, I need you to ask this really important question to yourself. When do you need the money, and do you really need the money? Some things that you want to spend money on, you don't really need to, you just want to. So when you're trying to make the decision between saving and investing, yeah, you can save your money, right? You can save it and have all that money to spend in maybe 5 years. Let's say you want to buy a new car every 5, 10, or 15 years. Yeah, you can save a certain amount of money every month, and until you reach a certain goal amount of money and then spend it all on that car. You can definitely do that, and it's definitely better than taking out a loan in most circumstances. But on the other hand, if you were to instead take that money and have it invested, well, you could be earning potentially money and compounding interest on that money, especially over the long run. So usually when it comes to growing your net worth, investing is kind of always going to be the better option, obviously. Investing is always going to be better than spending to grow your net worth. That's kind of step one, baby step one. But when you're determining if you really will need the money, you have to determine whether it's a want or a need. If you say, I want to take an expensive cruise 2 years from now, and this cruise is going to cost me, I don't know, $3,000. You can save up X amount of money per month until you get to that $3,000 goal, or you could just invest all that money, potentially earn money, but it could potentially go down. So let's say 2 years from now you invested it, and now the money is slightly depreciated and it's worth less. Maybe just because the stock market hasn't been doing good that month 2 years from now. Well, are you still going to need that vacation? You're probably not going to take it if it's invested because you don't want to realize that loss. But if it was in a regular savings account, you would probably still take that vacation because that is what you planned for it. And that is something really important because that is what's known as opportunity cost. So having your money in that savings account, it's costing you a lot of opportunity for that money to actually grow and compound on itself. And this is especially true the longer of a time horizon you have for your goals. And that is why I say you need to determine whether your savings goal is a want or a need. If you say, I want a new car every 10 years, that is a want. You could save the money and guarantee that you're going to get that car, or you can invest and have that money potentially compound over that 10 years and grow to a much larger number. Or possibly at the end of that 10 years, your investments could be slightly depreciated or temporarily down and temporarily worth less, so you're probably not going to be buying that car. And that's the difference between a need and a want. You might not need a new car every 10 years, but you might want a new car every 10 years. You might not need to renovate your kitchen in 5 years, but you might want to renovate your kitchen. So you need to determine whether it's a need or a want and whether it is worth that opportunity cost of having your money in a savings account and instead not growing and compounding on itself in an investment account. And that's going to be an individual decision that's going to be up to you. And these tough choices, these tough questions are a big part of what On Cash Flow, what this YouTube channel is all about. I want to answer the tough questions. I want to go a little bit more in depth because I want to be able to help you. If you're enjoying this video, please make sure that you like it, you give it a thumbs up because it really helps me out and it motivates me and it shows me that you enjoy this information and that you want more. While at the same time, if you are trying to grow your net worth, if you're trying to become financially independent, if you're just trying to gain control of your personal finances, then please, I invite you to subscribe to the channel because every single week I am putting out new information on personal finance. And I know that there is something that I can help you with. But getting back to the question, there is no one answer that I can give you because there's so many factors that go into it. There is not one answer. The only thing that I can really do is try to convince you to make an informed decision. And here's what I personally do. And this might not align with your values. This might not work for you and your risk tolerance. But if it's something that is 1 year or less, then I'll just put it in a savings account. If it is more than 1 year, I'm going to be investing that money. If I say, I might need a car 10 years from now, maybe. I know that that's a want and not a need. It's not essential for my survival. So unless I know that I absolutely need something, I'm going to be investing that money because opportunity cost, it really is a large cost, especially over the long term when you consider how powerful compound interest is. Compound interest is interest earned on interest. If I put $1,000 in the market today, if the market continues its upward trend as it has since its inception, then that $1,000 I put in today is going to be worth a lot more than 10 years from now. So I see opportunity cost as one of the biggest costs. So I try to really invest as much as possible. Anything over 1 year, my personal philosophy, I'm investing it. Yours might be different, and that is okay. It's something that you need to determine for yourself based on your risk tolerances and based on your personal values and if you can take that opportunity cost. And what I spoke about here today is a very big mental change that a lot of people don't have. The way you think about money, the way you think about investing, opportunity cost is a really important concept to know, especially if you want to grow your net worth, especially if you want to become financially independent. And that is a big part of what On Cash Flow is about, becoming financially independent and gaining control over your financial life. And if you haven't watched this video already, I really highly recommend it. It's about how to achieve financial independence in 10 years or less. It'll be popping up right next to me. If you haven't watched that video already, make sure you watch it because I outline all the basic steps to grow your net worth very, very quickly, 10 years or less to financial independence. It is possible and it can happen. I'm on the journey, and if you're on the journey, I want you to join me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time.